I want to paint you guys a picture. The day is October 9th, 2024. You're in your chair sipping on a cup of joe, and instead of deciding to do something productive with your life and going outside and hanging out with your friends, you browse a Steam page for what games have come out recently. As you continue to look through games in the store, you see one that catches your eye, featuring a trailer depicting an off-putting but alluring setting of a house in the classic PS1 graphical style, and a cast of characters that catch you off guard at every second. Who are these characters? What are they doing? How is this a horror game? You then look at what this game is before you click add to wishlist, and you see that the game is a little title called Bad Parenting. A game that not only caught the interest of you due to its graphical style and interesting premise, but also one that caught the interest of a lot of people. And the around 20 to 25 minute experience was one that instantly captured the hearts of many. So much so that the game received overwhelmingly positive reviews across the board. It got to the point where some of the most popular content creators in the gaming space were playing it, and would also come back with the same opinion.
Bro, what a game, Chad! Chad, what a game, bro!
But what is the story of the game that got such universal praise, you may be asking yourself? Mr. Redface, a fictional character created by adults to teach their children. It's said that he often appears late at night to give gifts to well-behaved kids. But is the story of Mr. Redface really that simple? Ron is the main character of the game, who will witness the suffering that Mr. Redface brings to his family. And what if I also told you that this game, which was extremely successful in every metric, was the dev's first game that he ever made, and from what I was understand, was made completely by himself. Yeah, he came out swinging for his first horror game, let me tell you. It was an out of the park hit, as you can see. To describe the game's basic premise in further details, it's about this kid named Ron with a very abusive father and an overly busy mother that were constantly arguing with each other. That's how the game starts out anyway. And then the mother tells Ron about this scary figure named Mr. Redface, who she claims leaves birthday presents if you're a good kid. Basically like a demented Santa Claus. After that initial day, let's just say some very traumatic events occur, and you basically end up finding that this Mr. Redface is your drunk dad that ended up snapping Ron's neck and having him suffer in the closet until he ends up passing away. In the video game, YouTube, in the video game! Also, I would say spoilers to the entire story, but trust me, you're not gonna want to play the game at all after this video's over. So honestly, it doesn't really matter. You also meet a group of other kids that have seemed to suffer tragic fates as well. One example being a kid that got burned to death, and another one that was in a whole ass car, showing the original places where they passed away, similar to Ron being in the closet because that's where he passed away. Basically, the game features very blatant themes of child abuse and trauma, and let's just say that the YouTubers that played were, well, traumatized would be an understatement. Yeah, it's no Super Mario Bros., but it was a very well written and well executed title for the topics that it was attempting to cover. But the question is, who designed such a masterpiece just out of nowhere? Well, by looking at the Steam page, you can see that it was developed and published by an indie dev named On, and Anne's indie company 2002. I don't know. This is the developer, and it also lists here that this is a Vietnamese developer, because it says in VN. And, as you can see, this is literally their first horror game. They have no other previous entries available. So yeah, this is their first game, and it was a slam dunk. 2002 is a Vietnamese indie developer, whose first and last name remained unknown, best known for creating the horror game Bad Parenting. Specializing in short atmospheric horror experiences, Bad Parenting marks their debut title. Not a lot is known about On himself. We do know that he hails from Vietnam, and Bad Parenting was created heavily reflecting his own childhood, which I can only assume is slightly exaggerated considering the nigga isn't dead. Unless he's talking about other kids in his life that went out those ways and he just witnessed it himself, but it's not specified really, so we'll just leave it there. His social media was mostly kept to just talking about the game itself, from revealing some behind the scenes elements of its creation, to even having future plans for plushies and other pieces of merch. You know, the typical pipeline. The only other thing he released to public that I could find was these very eerie mini videos from June 2023 that featured, I don't even know how to describe it, but it's just very disturbing and weird.
Giải trí cho chúng ta mọi lúc mọi nơi. Giải trí cho chúng ta mọi lúc mọi nơi. Giải trí cho chúng ta mọi lúc mọi nơi.
I'll give him this. He definitely has a knack for horror. That much is obvious. This dude might be a little f***ed in the head. Just a little bit. Anyways though, this was just to give you a quick little description of who this dude is, the game that he created, and why his game was such a massive success with audiences everywhere, and went viral on places like TikTok and YouTube. And considering how the game was called Bad Parenting 1 Mr. Redface, there were very obvious plans for follow-up episodes to come out as well, with I assume them focusing on different children that were abused by their parents as well being the common theme, possibly adding more lore to who Mr. Redface actually is. But sadly, that most likely isn't gonna happen, and even if it does, I highly doubt any YouTuber is gonna touch any of those future games made by Ann with a 10-foot pole. Now you're probably wondering, why is this the case? Are they just racist? Yeah, we now are going to get into the weird, disgusting weeds of why you probably shouldn't support this dude and his games. Because holy hell, bro is he is an individual, I will say. I have seen a lot of the videos on YouTube that are covering the situation. Luckily, all of them have gotten a decent amount of views to at least have some effect on spreading awareness about this topic. But there's a couple bits of the story that I think aren't really told, and I want to tell the full story. So, ladies and gentlemen, here is the disgusting and depraved bad parenting situation.
The creator of Bad Parenting may have just ruined his whole career.
One thing that I didn't mention about On is the way he interacts with his audience. Of course, he has the main things like a YouTube channel, a TikTok, and a Twitter account, but once again, these were all more impersonal avenues that seem to strictly exist for the sole purpose of promoting his different projects, and that's really about it. However, the main way that he directly interacts with his audience is through the Discord server that he had, where he seemed to talk pretty frequently to his community. For example, in the game, there was an option where you could look at different pieces of fan art that fans would draw up, and even made it fancy by implementing this little exhibit looking area to make the showcase even more special. It was really dope and was a really cool way to include fans into his project. If only it ended there. Now, let's go ahead and shift forward in time to January 14th, 2025. And let's just say a gigantic, crazy bombshell went off. And that bombshell comes in the form of every content creator's nightmare. A 16-page Google document. This document gets right to the point with its title, and it's simply called On is a in big old letters. Now, this document featured an insane accusation that was supported by a slew of evidence. Now, there's multiple documents with this situation in hand now that you know what we're talking about here, and I do want to take the time to say that if you guys want to take a look at the documents yourselves, just so you can come to your own conclusions, I'm going to link all of them in the description below because there's quite a bit. But if you guys don't want to look through them, I got you. Sadly, this document featured an insane accusation, right? But this accusation was actually supported by a slew of evidence that came with it, with the main pieces being various posts that he made towards the victim of his, who they call, and I'm going to just refer to them as V for the rest of the video. This was created by a group on his server and started off by saying the following. Once again, just gets right to the point with this, with saying it again, so that's great. As a reminder, On is the creator of Bad Parenting, a game that went viral on YouTube and TikTok, played by big YouTubers like Queso, I see what you did there, iShowSpeed, XQC, and CoreyX Kenshin more recently. This document is being made because we cannot stand to see On getting so much fame after we know what he did. He's been grooming minors and manipulating them, making them think they're at fault. Our victim will explain how everything started with Anne. It started when she sent him a friend request. At the time, the victim had her age in their bio, so 14. After adding her back, they began to talk frequently, becoming friends, doing VC, and playing together often. So at first, it was platonic. The victim was acting the same as On as with her other friends. Then it became more private, when the victim was talking about her feelings and personal life problems to Anne since he's an adult or more mature, wishing that he could make her feel better, and shared his problems, and in return, he established a relationship of trust between him and his victim. The more they talked, the the more they became closer. The victim's feelings were confused. They then started dating. The victim thought it was okay because she'd never been in a relationship before. They started talking about more intimate stuff like kissing, etc., saying how much they loved each other, on knowing that his girlfriend was 14 years old. So, once again, an insane accusation. Now, I will say, a lot of times when an accusation comes out, you have to take it with a grain of salt, as usually there's not a lot of substantial evidence to the claim. And you always have to keep in mind the possibility that the victim may be exaggerating a situation that happened to them to make it seem like a crime occurred, or they're just flat out lying. Unfortunately, bad actors made people have to think this way when information gets out about a popular content creator. This document, though, especially with its evidence and screenshots, are definitely solidifying on into the OVO squadron, let's just say. Now, the document opens up strongly with a screenshot of On basically acknowledging V as his girlfriend, and saying that he loves her so much that he wants to bite her cute cheeks. They go on to caption this screenshot and say, in this image, we can see how he referred to the victim as his girlfriend, knowing how old she is. Everything was normal for her here, explaining that she felt safe. Now, out of context, you may be thinking, how do we know he's talking to a 14-year-old exactly? This could be a person of age, and there could be a misunderstanding that's going on. Well, let's continue into the doc. Later on, we get this interesting interaction where On is talking to V about him joining Roblox, only then to get weirdly mad about it. As you can see, On is giving the reasoning as to why she's not joining Roblox, saying that it automatically closes down after 20 minutes of inactivity. On then says, it wasn't the problem. You have to tell me if you can't join back next time, so I don't have to wait like a stupid. I also hate waiting like a stupid. And if you can't join it the first time, just say it. I didn't mean to make you angry. You kept saying you would join, but then you left me there. Please, I'm sorry. In Roblox, I thought it was just your connection, but now Sky too? In which the people making this, who I'm just going to refer to them as the guards from here on out, say that this interaction is an example of the grooming and manipulation tactics that Anne was using on V at the time of their relationship. And keep in mind, this person, okay, is 14 years old, okay? Specifically, they say that this makes it a lot harder for V to understand how emotionally immature On is by making a big deal out of joining Roblox, basically. The relationship even got to the point where V and On were having calls together, and he would constantly talk about how much he loved her as well. Which, to be fair, you could classify that as a form of love bombing, which is another manipulation tactic that these kinds of people do, making their victim kind of feel nice by constantly splurging them with, love bombing. That's probably the best bet. I'm not saying this specific interaction was love bombing, but it is interesting how shortly after they met each other, he's constantly talking about how much he loves her and stuff. Now, one of the weirdest things that the guards brought up was this weird ass, pyrocynical ass role play. So there's this screenshot here where he talks about how he wants to live inside. Oh my god. We have this screenshot here where he talks about how he wants to live inside V's belly and to swallow him. And then there's another screenshot which talks more about wanting to kiss her belly. Keep in mind, when you check the dates of when he's doing this, this is after the release of Bad Parenting, which once again is a game about the exploitation of children. You see the irony here? Now, if there's any doubt that maybe he didn't know the age of V, or V wasn't 14 and the guards were lying about it, this screenshot pretty much dispels all of it. Where On says, I mean, kids and adults have different ways to love, and I might make you do the adult way. Sometimes I forget that you're still 14. This dude is sick, man. But we're not done. Stick with me here. Now, V testified that her and Anne had called one time and said that she showed her legs for a split frame. And On then told her to crush him with her legs. Keep in mind that this interaction is a strict testimony. There's no proof or recording that was shown to kind of prove that this interaction happened. So take it with a grain of salt, but we'll see later. I'm kind of leaning more towards this being real. But once again, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Also, keep in mind the texts above are just as sick, which once again is why I'm completely against them. He literally says age is not the biggest problem and calls her his future girlfriend multiple times. Now, they also show a series of text messages that really implicate him further and really shows how depraved he is in my personal opinion. According to the guards, the messages here were before they started dating, and were apparently On revealing that he had a crush on another 14-year-old, but it ended up being V's name backwards. At least that's what they claim. In one DM, On says to her that they say, blank is beautiful and funny too. This is V right here saying, I wish I could be like her. She sounds wonderful. And then On says, time will tell. And then she says, I feel confused. What does this mean? It's okay. You will get it in 4 to 5 years. I don't know about you guys, but this to me screams grooming. If nothing else has really gotten your alarm bells ringing. Couple this with another text where he says that the age barrier was the only thing stopping him and that I won't invade until it opens by itself. Once again, keep in mind that he's 22 years old typing this about a 14-year-old, regardless of if this is about V or another girl entirely. Honestly, with it being another 14-year-old, that doesn't make the situation better at all. That actually just shows you're just consistently in a 14-year-old when you're in your 20s. Either way, it's fucked, doc. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Overall, though, this document does a good job at getting straight into the accusations and puts down a more than good case as to On's nature and who he truly is. Which, to be frank, if everything lines up here, is a straight up file. Once again, I usually reserve a lot of judgment, especially when it comes to accusations like these, because I feel like a lot of people spam the word, and that causes it to really lose the sting and meaning that those once had. And I don't want to contribute to that. But considering what was in these DMs, unless these were all completely fake and completely fabricated by the guards or something, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I can't think of a better word for the guy, But once again, this is only the original document, and we still have quite a bit more to go through. So if you're holding out hope for this guy, let's just say despair is gonna hit you like a truck later on. One thing that I think is a really good indicator of how guilty someone is of their actions after news of this caliber come out. While this isn't always the case, as there's definitely times where panic can settle in, even if you believe you're innocent, only to then turn it around later on and prove your innocence to people, I still think it is valuable to see the accused's reaction to the claims. And now this leads us into the second document, where it details what happened after On got allegedly exposed by the guards and the document fully went public. Once again, very, very bold title here. Very bold title. So the document starts off by saying this. On, a famous game developer who made the game Bad Parenting, but also owns a Discord server called 2002 Games, uses it for anything related to art, gaming, and development of his own game. Lately, he was caught talking with a 14-year-old and labeling her as his GF, which is direct acts of pedophilia. The victim was also trying to avoid him, but On was persistent in his acts, saying words that varied from vor fetish to direct intimacy. Now, as you can tell, we don't have a lot of information about who made this document yet, but they do have access to their Discord server, so it's someone who's been in the server for a long time. Now, first they showcase On's first reaction to all this being out here, and I'll just kind of read it verbatim once again because I think it's important. Keep in mind, this is gonna be a long thing. A few months ago, I met V in my own server, and we were friends to each other. We often played games in the VC with many other members, but since we had played Sky together, we got closer. Until one time in Sky, she confessed she loved me and told me she wanted to be my girlfriend in private. I said no and told her to wait until she turns 18. Many times, not once. I also forbade everything sexual, even jokes. I didn't want that to happen between me and her. But then, every day, I still talked to her a lot and spent hours to play games with her. I found it was not okay and told her to tone down, be normal like everyone else. And it only lasted for a short time and everything went back to the way it was because she still has that kind of affection. In our final weeks, I let the boyfriend-girlfriend joke happen. It's my fault, it's not right, and I don't have any excuses for this. I could have ended the whole relationship and blocked her, but I didn't because I still wanted to talk and play games with her. I kind of used her to vent all daily life problems. You may wonder why I picked a child. It's because kids don't judge, so I can freely tell her every problem that I had. But at the same time, I had another plan to end all romantic things in this relationship. I tried to talk less to her, talk more to the girls in the server, so she would think that I don't have anything to do with her and give up. And here's the result. She got mad and finally ended it all, and also exposed things between me and her. First of all, I think there's an interesting contradiction that he makes in this statement that I find really suspicious. One, he said he forbade everything that was sexual, even jokes. He says that in the first paragraph. But in the second paragraph, he says, I had another plan to end all romantic things in this relationship. What romantic things was going on? You know what I'm saying? Oh wait, I guess we know. Also, going back to the forbade anything sexual part, if that's the case, then why all the text talking about how much you love her throughout what seems to be the entire interactions with this girl, and the alleged time where he wanted her to crush him with her thighs? Like, where was that at? Also, this whole position of him talking about how he needed to talk less to her and more girls on the server, in my opinion, doesn't excuse the behavior at all. Why not just kick her from the server completely? Or be upfront with her and tell her that this would be very inappropriate and cut her off? Maybe not allow minors to join the server at all? Why not proceed with these options rather than talking to more girls in the server? The girl is 14, just block her and move on. The biggest thing claimed in his response though is that the whole thing about her being his girlfriend was a joke that was occurring. That's his excuse. All those times where you've seen all those things, He claims every single one of those times were strictly jokes. Which one, either way is weird because joking about that with an actual kid is strange and gross regardless. So even if this was true, you're still in the wrong and I would not trust you with children at all ever. Also, in this same sentiment, he mentions how she confessed to him that she loved him and wanted to be his girlfriend. So once again, by your logic, this would be you joking with a 14-year-old that actually had genuine feelings about you. Does that make any sense to anybody listening? But even if you say yes, the document fortunately archived other instances of him directly contradicting himself here, which we'll go through in a bit. There's also a very weird thing he said where he said, I could have ended the relationship with her at those times and blocked her, but I didn't. Now, why would this dumbass do that, you may ask? Well, if we believe his statement, it's because he wanted to vent all his daily problems and life problems to her, and saying that it's because kids don't judge, so I can freely tell her every problem I had. He also says due to him trying the method of slowly ending things to her, she threatened to expose this entire relationship. Which, like, good? Do you want me to feel bad for you? Why would I blame her for that? You're a fucking loser. Also, I find it very scummy of this dude to vent daily problems, as he says, to a 14-year-old. That's just completely inappropriate to do, man. And it doesn't make you look any better or make your case that you didn't feel attraction to her, as it sounds like this was probably the reason she felt such a strong attachment to the dude. And he just ended up strengthening this disturbing relationship. So when you compare that with the fact that he literally told her very private information about himself, and according to the first document, she did it vice versa, and then the multiple times where he called her his girlfriend, do you not expect me to come to the logical conclusion that you may be dating this person? Now, he ends off by saying this: if you're all waiting for an apology, there won't be, because I don't have any reason to apologize to you guys. I only do that to that girl, and I did it months ago. But this isn't everything. There are still many things I have to tell you guys. That's all I did to her. Many of them are my fault. So, no, dude, no. All of this is your fault. Every single step you've made is a failure to you as a person. You are the adult in this whole thing, and it's your responsibility to dead this whole relationship from the beginning, because it'll always be inappropriate no matter what. Also, I don't think anyone wants you to apologize to them, and if you privately gave her a genuine apology, then good, but this needed to go public. It's clear On is a disturbed individual, and to protect any minor that goes into his server, or any person that was planning to financially support this fucking weirdo, this needed to be public information for everyone to know, so they could make their final judgments on the matter. Whether they want to support you or not support you. Whether they want to play your games to thousands of people in their audience, a lot of their audience being children, or not. This wasn't just a private issue. You're a predator who talked in a very nasty way to a 14-year-old. Fuck off. Also, I just want to add here that for anyone that wants to claim he's from Vietnam, so maybe the age of consent is like 14 or something. One, that still doesn't make it okay, but let's take a look anyway. Let's see here. Okay, so the age of consent in Vietnam is, would you look at that, 18 years old. The age of consent is the minimum age at which an individual is considered legally enough to consent to participation in sexual activity. Individuals aged 17 or older in Vietnam are not legally able to consent to sexual activity, and such activity may result in prosecution for statutory R-word or the equivalent local law. Now, you'll see later, but the minor actually said that where she's from, the age of consent is 14 apparently, and it's legal there. But like, I don't care. I genuinely don't fucking care, dude. Now, as I hinted to before, the guards provided a lot of evidence that On was not being truthful in his statement, providing screenshots of different times where he's referred to her as his girlfriend multiple times. They also show screenshots of him joking about this whole thing, in which they see this as him showing no remorse about what he had done, which once again is an attempt to groom a 14-year-old. They also show screenshots of him saying that sending vor, which are the comments he was making about wanting to live inside her and stuff, is not considered a sexual joke at all, which... okay, buddy. Well, let's see here. Vor is a shortened version of the term
vorophilia.
Sorry guys, I have a cold. I can pronounce words right. A paraphilia and a fetish, chiefly practiced by role-playing, involving the devouring of or being devoured by another person or creature, whether alive and whole. So what you said is considered vor, because you're saying you want to live inside her belly. God, it's so fucking weird, dude. And vorophilia seems like a fetish. And what is a fetish? Well, that is inherently sexual. But I'll let you guys come to the conclusion whether you want to believe him here or not. But I think I know where I stand on it personally. Now, next he tries to justify his relationship with with V, asking how him waiting for her to turn to an acceptable age and him actively having sexually charged discussions with her for the ultimate goal of getting into a relationship with her when she turns 16 is considered grooming. Yeah, I have no idea. The guards didn't get into her first response to all this, which was saying that On didn't do anything wrong, and she also denied that he was a groomer and a PDF file. By the way, this message was in response to him literally admitting that he feels like a creep after seeing a video talking about YouTube predators that hang out with minors. Yeah, buddy, you're definitely in that batch too. The guards also sent an image of his apology that he gave her back in November, saying the following: I think we should stop this kind of relationship. It's not really stable and healthy, and not right either. The entire thing just won't work. It feels very weird. We can be normal to each other like we did months ago. It makes me feel more comfortable, and I don't have to think about it every night. Your mindset will also change a lot when you're grown up. You will see that I was always right about this. If you still want something more than a friendship between us, you can wait, and I can wait too. Hope you will understand this for me. Wow, it's almost like they were in a romantic relationship. I want you to tell me, from the way he speaks here, does this sound like a friendship? Because if we go by his words, this is him ending a friendship, but then him saying, if you still want something more than a friendship. And then he says, we can be normal to each other like we did months ago. Does that not sound like a romantic relationship was going on here? Like, come on, guys. Bro, it's insane that this dude was baffled that people are accusing him of grooming a minor when he's literally doing it in 4K ultra wide definition with ray tracing turned on and all settings set to high. And he basically just denied any semblance of this being like an actual relationship with V. Also, side note, but I love how every time he digs his hole deeper and deeper, he just gets responded to with throw up emojis and clowns. It's beautiful. The guards also make an important distinction here that is very important. He also started saying that he told her to wait till 18, which by definition is still grooming. But I wish this was true, because at truth, he told her to wait till 16. Don't forget, he's 22 years old. All this shows that On is a hypocrite, unworthy of the title of a big game dev. Who knows what he will do if he had more fame and power. Which once again is why I think it's important to call this out and to make this public, because he could have a lot more victims on his hand if he keeps this behavior up. And I think once again, he should be called out for this. Then lastly, this document shows On crashing out completely, once again trying to convince people that it's not grooming. The definition of grooming is building trust, relationship with minors to achieve the sexual goal with them. I literally had a good friendship with her, and her trust had a perfect space in everything a groomer needed to achieve that groomer's goal. But why the f didn't I do it? Because you were trying to wait until she turned 18, which is literally the definition of grooming. Are you stupid? On the contrary, I told her to never trust me or anyone on the internet, and forbade her to talk dirty things with me, even if it's just a joke. Once again, we're just gonna assume here, unless you disagree with me, which I would love to know why, that they were most likely in a relationship at this point, a romantic relationship at this point. At the end of the day, you can go by your text and multiple messages that we've already looked at and kind of come to the conclusion that you're a weirdo and a strange individual and a weird pervert too. You're just weird, dog. It's one thing to apologize. It almost feels like that apology is just there to make you look good when you're constantly trying to justify the inappropriate relationship that you had with the 14-year-old. Also, on his way out, he attempted to expose someone by the name of Eclipse, who I assume is one of the guards responsible for writing this document. After this thing, you may go at yourself in the mirror. Will you keep lying to yourself that you're a good person, a true minor protector? Or will you accept the fact that you are just a piece of shit and a hypocrite, a child abuser? You all make her think all the sexual stuff you guys send/tell her is fine. Does this sound like grooming now? And then they directly respond to this saying this. The funny thing is, all of this is BS. Yes, we have a server, and yes, we have a VC, but it doesn't have any grown men, other than us around her age playing D&D. The thing is that he said the stuff the 16-year-old girl did was illegal, while he, 22 years old, did nothing wrong, as shown above. Chop, chop, belly lover. Okay. Oh my gosh, bro. Now, obviously, these accusations towards Eclipse may have merit to it. I don't know, we'll have to see. But even if they were being very inappropriate to V, you were still trying to groom her. And you definitely needed to be held accountable for that, you weird pervert. Now, you guys remember in On's initial response where he said, there are still many things I have to tell you guys? Well, he kept on his word when later that day, On had officially posted on his Twitter account the following. For those who are accusing me of being a PDF and don't know about this incident, you can read this. It's pretty huge and long, including my side and the accuser's side. I'm just gonna say this right now, he is being disingenuous. He does not show all of the accuser's side. This is why you need to read the first document before you read this one. Now, his document is called The Downfall of 2002, and this was On's final response, where his goal was to give more context and wanted people to let him explain his side of the story. So let's let him do so. So this document is split into basically two sections. The first 5 pages cover his response to the messages, and the other 10 pages cover Eclipse and the guards that were initially signal boosting On's odd behavior. So let's go ahead and start with his response. Now, the first part of this pretty much reiterates what he said in his initial response. The one thing I want to point out is that he sneakily makes this sound very one-sided, when in the text it shows that he was also very interested in her as well at the time. As he said, the only barrier he had was when she turned 18. So why make it sound like she was the only one that was being interested here? It was obvious that it was reciprocated. And once again, he never denied that the texts weren't real, so we can go off that assumption. Anyways, he then proceeds to make it clear that V and him were never in a relationship. The screenshots showing messages where I called V GF are real, but they lack proper context. If V and I were actually dating already, there wouldn't be any reason for me to tell V to wait. In reality, during the last few weeks when we were still texting, I allowed joking around by calling each other GF and BF, evidence that those instances were jokes. And then he shows this very, very tiny snippet as proof of this being jokes, where I can't see the rest of the context or what V was saying that he was responding to. But I really quick want to say, if you properly read what he said in the text, he said they need to stop the relationship and going back to being normal. Once again, if you look at what he said before, he says we should stop this kind of relationship. He says it's not stable and healthy and not right. So once again, he's trying to make you believe that the type of relationship that he's talking about is a friendship. And he's saying that a friendship is not stable and healthy, but he says if you still want something more than a friendship between us, you can wait, and I can too. And then that afterwards is where the whole thing, where the context of this joke is coming from. Also, keep in mind, when you look at the date of the text, it looks like this text that he showed was before him apologizing. I feel like there's some suspicious things that's not being expanded upon, but it is what it is. Now, one, On has already proven to be a somewhat unreliable narrator here, but let me remind you what this dude was saying in the first doc, that once again conveniently is never talked about. He says, I love you more. I love my girlfriend. I love spending time with my GF. I love you, baby. I just love when you're being silly and cute. I love it when you are being shy. He says, I loved it when you were shy in the call. You were so cute. I feel so cringe when I'm like that. Oh my god. No, don't feel like that when you are with me. I want you to be comfortable. Kids and adult have a different way to love, and I might make you do the adult way. Does this sound like a friendship, guys? Like, does this not sound like they are in a relationship? Were those mistakes and all those times where you said how much you love your girlfriend jokes too, On? Cause man, you joke a lot about how you really want to be in a relationship with this 14-year-old and how you're willing to wait. That definitely is an interesting joke you're saying, especially when she, in your words, has already confessed to you at that point. Now, I know there's a lot of sayings, when someone's making a joke, there are times where that joke will have a sense of realness to it. I personally don't subscribe to that, but if he's joking this much about it, I can definitely see there being something under the hood there for sure. And keep in mind, On at multiple times is in the DMs privately joking about being in a relationship with them, saying you're gonna wait 4 to 5 years when she turns 18, and constantly having messages openly calling her your girlfriend. Bro, how much charitability do you want people to give you? Now, also, he does end up saying in the doc that this isn't an excuse whatsoever, and it's still weird to joke about romantic things with a minor, even if you take him at his word, which, by the way, I don't. It really just seems to me that one little snippet text that you said is doing a lot of the heavy lifting here. Now, the next thing he claims is that V and I never chatted about or joked about anything obscene or sexual. And this is a complete lie. In the first doc, Anne apparently missed the part about V coming forward and claiming that he wanted her to crush him with her legs. So if this was never meant to be sexual and you wanted to emphasize that in this document, why did you not address this whatsoever, where you were privately telling her to crush you with her legs? You know, the minor that she admitted had a crush on you, in which you kept the conversation going afterwards. He then shows multiple screenshots where V is apologizing for making those kinds of jokes, and On basically is reinforcing here that he doesn't want her to say them anymore. And through this is implicated that On didn't want those jokes like at all. And look, I've seen it with my own 2 eyes. You did have moments of being blatantly sexual with her. The fact that she's apologizing multiple times for the instances of her making inappropriate jokes tells me that you are part of the reason why she is saying jokes like that in the first place. She didn't just randomly wake up and then just start saying perverted shit to you. This has been a thing of conditioning, and he is part of that conditioning. At least that's what it seems to me. With the other screenshots of her apologizing, it begs the question, why did you not just end the relationship at this point and keep it going? Why continue talking to this minor even when she's admitted that she has feelings for you? You have other people on the server that you're friends with. Why not just interact with them? Why encourage this completely unhealthy relationship? Oh wait, I know! He then brings up the definitions of pedophilia and grooming to prove that he's not either of those things. PDF is a very serious accusation, referring to individuals who are sexually attracted to or engage in sexual acts with children. Grooming is the act of building trust and luring young victims for sexual purposes. Okay, well, considering that you constantly joked about how you wanted to be in a relationship with a 14-year-old, you most likely found her attractive. She would be classified as prepubescent as she's 14 years old. Also, you blatantly brought about sexual topics to her, so I don't think I'd be mad if someone labeled you as a PDF file, personally. As for a groomer, all I need to do is show this screenshot. You're a fucking loser. Now, he also talks about the vor comments that he made and gives more context to that. Regarding the joke about living in your belly, everyone has made it look like a sexual thing, but the context of the joke is this. V and I had created fictional characters for each other. My character was a tiny crocodile and V's was a giant lynx sheep hybrid. We often drew pictures and joked about it. Okay, we're just gonna do this. Let's see, hold on. Define vorophilia. A paraphilia and a fetish, chiefly practiced by role-playing. And what does he admit to them doing? Role-playing. Also, notice how not only does he not show any of the DMs here, including the ones that were already screenshotted for him in the first document, but under the 2 pictures of them drawing their characters, he puts the text associated with the screenshots in himself. It's actually in the document, which I find very suspicious. For me, this doesn't change anything. These comments are still sexual, and this is still vor, and you're doing it with a 14-year-old. You're a fucking loser. Okay, alright. So, okay, I'm gonna read his statement here. So, once again, the accusations is this guy's a pedophile, right? So, okay, I want to show you something. So, I'm gonna show you this DM, right? This is him talking to this 14-year-old, by the way.
How old is the guy again?
22. One thing that he said is there was this accusation where he said, I want to live inside your belly. Alright? So,
he's a 14-year-old.
Yes, to the 14-year-old. His excuse is saying this. Regarding the joke about living in your belly, it was a joke, by the way. Everyone has made it look like a sexual thing, but the context of the joke was this. V and I had created fictional characters for each other. My character was a tiny crocodile, and V's was a giant lynx sheep hybrid. We often drew pictures and joked about it. So I'm going to show you these pictures.
Am I allowed to read the previous DMs now, or?
Yeah, you can read the DMs, and then I'm going to show you the picture, and then you tell me if this is sexual or not.
I want to eat you in your belly. What the f? What do I read? I like okay. Even beyond just like what is this DM?
I don't know. I don't know.
Wait, hold on. I gotta parse through this because this is
all right. Yep.
I want to live inside your belly, especially my arms and belly.
Yep.
Oh, these are search terms for belly.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I thought this was like an actual like that's why I was like I must be like I just didn't realize these were like someone like searched belly and like showed every time, but because I thought these were like consecutive messages, what is he on? Wow, on that belly, sometimes you just want to give like an appropriately affectionate kiss on the belly to signify safety.
Yep. On the 14-year-old. Yep. on the 14-year-old girl apparently. Yep. True. What about the part where he says I want to eat you? Or wait, when he says I'm in your belly like 8 billion times.
Basically, right? Something might think that's, you know, some type of sexual act, you know, like vor and whatnot. But no. It's
Oh, by the way, he said what he said there is not sexual, even though it's vor, and the definition of vor is literally a fetish.
it's sexual.
Yeah, which is literally.
I'm just saying, I'm glad I'm not this guy's lawyer. Am I right?
That's what I'm saying. Next, he talks about the first document's accusation that he was manipulating her into feeling bad about not joining Roblox with them. As for the accusation that I was upset because V didn't play games with me, that's completely twisted and distorted. Of course, the messages were always cut to make me look bad. I don't think you need much help with that, but go off. Specifically, I had invited V to play multiple times. V agreed, but then changed their mind without letting me know, leaving me waiting in the game. The first few times this happened, I didn't say anything to V, but when it kept happening, I'm sure anyone in this situation would have been frustrated. So this doesn't seem distorted and twisted as Ann says. In this image, we can see that An is getting mad over something really dumb. I don't think this sounds as twisted or distorted as An says. It's you getting mad over something really dumb. I think you can definitely make an argument that the deep armchair psychology wasn't really needed in the first place, but this doesn't really change anything here. Also, you getting mad at a 14-year-old because she didn't join back in Roblox with you is peak terminally online behavior. So now we get into the main thing that An does in the document, which is making a twice as long hit piece about how the other mods in his server are just as bad as he is, making constant inappropriate jokes to other minors in the server. Keep in mind, these are apparently the people that exposed this dude's behavior from the very beginning. And now the other thing to keep in mind is that Eclipse herself is 18 years old. Meanwhile, the other mods, who are named Junie, Rafflecat, and Sim, are all 18 and older, at least according to An. Now he starts off with Eclipse, who's a person he called out in that one screenshot with the huge essay that he formulated, and it seems like he has the most beef with her. I don't really understand why he's having the most beef with a fucking minor, but go off. Now, once again, this is 10 pages long. I'm gonna summarize it. I'll have it linked in the description if you want to take a look at it fully, but yeah, here we go. So he starts off and says that Eclipse had an entire server of animals doing things to each other, in which she invited V over apparently. She had actually responded to this, seemingly admitting that this was true, and then denounced her behavior. Now, I also don't know why he did this, but in the document, you can see him trying to act like a 2-year age difference, V being 14 and Eclipse being 16, is this giant leap, and it's really not. So next, he shows a variety of pictures that E put in the server about No Nut November, and a bunch of other vulgar images that she had as well. An also mentions how he had to take down a mass volume of the posts, probably trying to put in his stats. So next he references a post where Eclipse had talked about groping a minor at school by accident. Once again, this humor is very weird and immature and kind of wild, but she's 16 years old. Why do I care about this obvious joke that she made? The person that An mainly talks about in this document is a guy by the name of Junie. An had previously said that Eclipse had mentioned that her friends weren't like An at all and that they weren't weirdos, but An throws a monkey wrench into that claim, once again targeting Junie. Since I'm no longer in the private group chat, I don't have evidence of Junie making sex jokes to V. However, unlucky for Junie, V isn't the only minor Junie had sexually approached. The names of the victims will not be disclosed publicly, but will be provided to the involved people like Junie if they need it. Now, I won't lie, An has a lot of different screenshots of Junie being very weird. He's gotten multiple instances where Junie is talking weird to minors who are around the same age as V. He mentions how he got into a call with a 14-year-old and set the status to hot Vietnamese bussy, and this is because he claims that the minor that he was talking to in the call was Vietnamese. He even got a screenshot of Junie trying to cover himself where he asked a minor if he could like sex him or whatever that means, in which he then deleted because of how weird that is, and on top of that the minor also called him out on it, but unfortunately for his weird ass it got archived because of the snipe tool. Unlucky. What An provides as what I would consider one of the weirdest things is the voice chats that An had screenshotted and posted, where they had some of the strangest names for them that I don't think I'm gonna repeat if I put it on screen, and they're a lot. It's a lot. They literally have a VC called Diddle 14-year-olds, bro. why, dude? All of these people are disturbed. All these people are so disturbed. On claims that this was specifically aimed towards V to humiliate her in front of everyone. I don't really get that claim, and he provided no proof of that, so I'm gonna assume that this was an incredibly bad faith interpretation of what actually happened until more proof is shown. But despite that, I do have to be fair here. This is a very weird thing to do, and it's like it's on some weird shit for sure. Look, I do think that making jokes towards dark topics like this is fine, and it's pretty based and red-pilled as well. I mean, I would be a hypocrite to say that otherwise, because I do it all the time with my friends. But when there's actual kids in the server and you're making jokes like that, that is just not good, man. It's not good at all. I have to completely disavow this one. I'm kind of wondering on whose idea was it to make this type of voice call, because On weirdly doesn't specify, though I guess since this is still in the Eclipse section, the assumption is that Eclipse made the voice chat, which once again is very inappropriate and wrong for sure, especially if the goal was to aim it at V, but I still wouldn't say it compares to what On did, considering that she's making these jokes at 16 years old, and there's only a 2-year age difference here. Is she mentally ill and probably very socially disturbed? 100%. She needs to get offline and go outside. But is she comparable to On's behavior at the ripe age of 22? No! I will say that Junie guy is a fucking weird, disgusting loser too, though. I will say that for sure. Now, honestly, I think this statement by On is a good summarization of this whole document of what he was trying to do. In this entire drama, except for V, everyone else is in the wrong. But not everyone has the courage to admit that it was wrong or warn V that it was wrong. Because I knew very well that getting involved with someone younger isn't a good thing, I warned V and advised them to put aside any romantic feelings and focus on being normal friends as much as possible. Once again, I think this is a bit disingenuous because it is clear to me that they were in a relationship and he said so in his own thing that they need to stop this relationship. I will say, while I think the part defending himself is pretty dog shit honestly, and it really only reinforces to me that he was having very sexually charged conversations with V, the second part where he accuses the mods for not being angels themselves was more effective than I thought honestly. And just to be absolutely clear here, I do still think On is the worst person in this entire fiasco. He was the one that, in my personal opinion, was in a confirmed relationship with a 14-year-old. Yes, were there very, very inappropriate jokes in the server that should not be said to minors? 1000%. But he had a vested interest in 14-year-old girls as a 20-year-old. He is easily the worst person in the room. I just want to make that very, very clear before we continue on. Now, On had actually gotten her response on another channel where she actually did end up taking some responsibility for her actions. Hi everyone, Eclipse here. I will be ignoring the drama now. I apologize for anything that I've done that is confirmed to be true. I am very sorry. This is my official apology as I don't have much social media. I'm sorry this has gone this far. I will be focusing on school and chatting normally in a different server since I don't want to stress my school life with this drama. Goodbye for now. So my final conclusion to all of this, everyone involved in this, apart from V and any other minors in the server, are fucking weird, disgusting freaks. So basically the average Discord experience. Now, on Twitter, when this all got exposed, there were people responding who I can only assume only saw this version of the document that he provided, because there was a lot more sympathy posts for On than I thought. And if they had seen all 3 docs up to this point, mental illness, and they all need to go to jail, and they all need to get their hard drives checked. What the hell? There were people that were pushing back against this narrative, though, that Ann is this completely innocent person, and what he did wasn't that bad. And one of those people is a self-proclaimed close friend to V's best friend. Now, let's talk about these screenshots. On, I will not let you get away with what you did to my best friend's friend. That poor girl, you took advantage of her. And here, she links, once again, screenshots that we have already seen before of him basically calling his girlfriend multiple times. So he then replied and basically tried to lump her in with the members that were a part of this private sex chat. What the fuck was going on in this server, man? She then denied this claim and then added on top of that everyone had apparently apologized and realized the jokes that they were telling V were messed up, though didn't provide any proof of that happening, so take that with a grain of salt. Now, knowing the disgusting nature of On, people then went to the dedicated Reddit page to being encouraged to mass review bomb the game for his actions. And now when you look at the game's review scores on Steam, now its recent reviews are mostly positive and all reviews are very positive. positive. Here you can see some people in the chat actually commenting about this. Good game, mega jaw drop. Shame the creator was doing Vor RP with a 14-year-old. Don't support this game financially. I played this game 3 times until I saw that the creator is a PDF file, and what makes it worse is what the game is about. Creator was caught talking to a 14-year-old about Vor and the other bad stuff. Don't buy this game if you hate PDFs. The game's alright, dev is trash though. The game is over the top, but of course the dev is a PDF file, which is unexpectable. Ooh. Why did this person rate it positively? However, there are still people that don't know about this entire thing, and there are people still rating it positively, even today. And honestly, I felt it justified that I wanted to tell the entire story so you guys can come to your own conclusions. I think my opinion on this whole thing is that the creator of Bad Parenting is pretty much guilty from the very beginning. Just because the people that expose you turn out to be weirdos too, that doesn't mean that you're any better. In fact, once again, I would argue that On is still the worst out of all of them. A lot of people are patting him on the back for apologizing to the minor. That's like bare expectations. The bar is in hell. Now, you're probably wondering, he made this immaculate game. Is there planning to be any future projects? And On has responded to that, where he said that he's basically leaving it up to the community to decide on if he should continue his gaming ventures or not. I will always not support creeps, and just because On can tailor a horror game really well, that doesn't exempt him from this. So I'm good on this dude in any of his future projects. And honestly, I would probably encourage any creator that got invested in his series and his world to save yourself the trouble and not play this game either, or support this guy. And honestly, that's the worst and most weird part about this all. It sucks because he's a very talented developer, but that's really all I can give him. And I think this hits more for me personally and disgusts me more because this game is literally a commentary on child exploitation and abuse, but then turns around and tries to groom a child. It's insane and horrific considering he knows the damage shit like this could do to a child. And yeah, he sucks. He has said that what he experienced in Bad Parenting is something that is an accurate reflection of what he faced in real life. And a lot of times, unfortunately, when you have kids that are susceptible to this, they end up becoming a terrible person themselves. And it seemed that's the unfortunate conclusion here. On is a terrible person. So if anyone asks about when Bad Parenting 2 is coming out, just show them the big bolded title calling the nigga a pedophile. And look, if you guys want a game talking about like exploitation in some way, play like mouthwashing or something. Like, do not play Bad Parenting. Do not, please. I'll have all 3 documents linked in the description below, just in case you guys think I missed something, okay? I will catch you guys in the next installment where hopefully we don't talk about a fucking weirdo. I'll catch you on the next one. Goodbye.